transport you into the 21st century.
You'll be ready for do-it-yourself projects.
7:41 at the time. Denise Richardson is in the studio now with some guests and talking about what can only be described as a very strange development.
You could say that. Remember when you used to throw yourself around at a mixer in high school?
No.
He has a short memory. Remember the angry sounds of what they called hardcore music in the early 80s? It was a world filled with leather, slam dancing, and drugs. Well, the 90s hardcore sound is still the same, but the message is pure. No drugs.
I tried it and I said, I don't like it. You know, it's not that cool. I get drunk and I, you know, waste my time.
Drugs kill, man. It's important. I mean, these people walking around killing themselves, shooting up and doing all crap like that. It's not good for you, man.
I don't need it, you know. That's all I say. I'm like, if you don't like me because I don't drink, then fine. You know, I don't need them.
It's the Just Say No generation, and these straight-laced teens are here at CBGB's, the capital of music's cutting edge, to enjoy a sober afternoon of music and dance.
Pretty much slam dancing is, you know, just safe, good, clean fun.
Some people, they'll tell you, oh, it's not violent. It's very violent. A bunch of kids who don't look at the world the same way everybody else does, having a little bit of fun. I think it's a lot healthier than shooting a needle in your vein or beating up people randomly on the street or anything like that.
It's classic musical venom laced with screeching lyrics, head-banging riffs, and stage dives. The kids know it as hardcore.
But remember, folks, this generation of headbangers are straight. Drugs and alcohol are out, few wear leather, and many are vegetarian. Insiders call it straight edge.
I really think that straight edge is a revolt against the whole, you know, mainstream thing of like going out every weekend, you know, getting drunk, you know. The straight edge kids are the kids that are really asking the questions of, you know, is it right to eat meat?
Straight edge was originally just anti-obsession, and I think it focused a lot on individuality and open-mindedness, and now it's become a veritable religion.
Straight edge kids are typically white suburban males who are tuned into hardcore's aggressive message. The music is an outlet for their social frustrations.
It's an aggressive music and an aggressive scene because, I mean, people are pissed off about a lot of stuff. And kids are, and many people don't think that, you know, teenagers are involved in things that are social and political, but they are, and they're mad about it, and this is a way to get it out, especially for, like, straight-edge kids, I think. We don't have the advantage of, like, going and getting wasted.
I think that the kids, any of the kids that get angry from the music, usually only get angry at the shows. And just go absolutely crazy, release all their energy, and then when they're home, they're in school, they're just the same as they would be any other day. It's a music for kids, and it's a music that can be understood and appreciated mostly by kids, but it's a little more mature and intelligent than people sometimes give credit.
Joining us in the studio now is Bob Hatton, a father of 7, 4 of whom happen to be teenagers, and also with us is the lead singer of the Gorilla Biscuits, Anthony Civarelli. Mr. Patton, what's your reaction to what you just saw?
Well, I had heard about the slam dancing earlier, but I had never seen the actual video of a club routine.
Does that frighten you in any way? Does that look violent to you?
Well, I think the teenage kids really do need an outlet of some type, physically, but I think that this kind of behavior seems to be a little chaotic and as well as potentially dangerous.
Potentially dangerous. Anthony Civarelli, do you say it's potentially dangerous?
Yes, I do. I agree. But I think, for the most part, people see it. It's a little bit too crazy when you're watching it on TV like this. When you're there, it's not that bad because...
Oh, come on,
Anthony. There is,
You
seriously.
even laughed when you saw it on television.
Because I'm trying to think of what people are going to think of it. Because you guys, you know, when it was cut up, it looks like this is just constant. I mean, it's energetic and it is crazy and it is violent. But there's like a system to it.
What's the system?
The system is when you're on the dance floor, you respect each other's space. There is banging into each other, but you don't get. There's not like so much of like you're not that mad when someone hits
But wait a
you.
minute, we're talking about social and political frustrations that you all are supposed to be expressing through the slam dancing.
Exactly.
So you're saying kids don't have any other outlets other than this?
Oh, I think they do. Sure, I mean, they must. I mean, every kid, you know what I mean? But hardcore kids, I think mainly, especially straight-edge kids, because I think drinking and doing drugs is an outlet. But for us, this is one of the ways we get it out.
Suppose your boys came home. You have two boys and the teenagers, 16 and 15. Suppose those guys came home and after having gone to a club like this, how would you react?
Well, after knowing that this is going on at the clubs, my reaction would be that you know, they should stick with their football, their lacrosse.
Then I would say,
their
oh, Dad,
hockey,
come on,
because
I'm not drinking.
That's where they can take out their you know, their physical contact aggressions.
I think football and lacrosse is just as crazy as this. I mean, it's ruled and it's mainstream and they say it's okay. But kids break their legs, break their necks, break their noses, and break, you know, everything in lacrosse. I'm sure.
Oh, how often do people get hurt at your concerts?
Every once in a while, seriously, about every 6 months maybe, a kid breaks his nose or a finger or something from doing it. And these are usually kids who haven't been in the scene for a long time and don't know, like, exactly what they're doing.
Do fights break out during these concerts?
Yeah, sure.
The fights break out.
Once in a while.
It's par for the course?
But a lot of times it's because a person's drunk or a person's stoned or a person is new and he's not sure what's going on.
And yet part of this whole straight edge movement is that no drugs, no alcohol.
Exactly, but the whole scene isn't straight edge.
Now what does that mean? The whole scene
like, only a small percentage of the scene, maybe not even like, not to say small, maybe less than half. You know, a lot of kids are into still the punk thing with the drinking and the smoking and the drugs. Or even if it's just, you know, one or the other. Not everyone's straight.
Is there a limit? Is there a limit to the level that the jumping and thrashing around?
Clubs
Are there bouncers in these clubs?
Yeah, some clubs they have bouncers, and some clubs they don't bother with them.
No, but here he says, but we're not doing drugs, we're not doing alcohol, and you're saying, but son, I want you to do basketball and football and those things. What do you say to your son if the son says, I want to try it anyway? I mean, do you get really upset and frustrated and say, no, I don't want you to do it?
I would tell him not to do it.
You would?
Yeah, because I don't want to spend, you know, Saturday night in the emergency room at the local hospital when he takes a header into the floor and fractures his skull.
You said that there was a form of slam dancing in your son's high school?
They were doing a little bit of it at a mixer. There were girls there, however. I know this is mostly a male. I didn't see many girls in that group. And,
mostly the girls, because I mean, when you put a bunch of, you know, teenage men together and a bunch of girls, the girls are the ones who are going to get hurt. I mean, some of them do it and we take care of them. If girls stage dives, everybody just kind of passes her around, puts her down. But mostly they're on the side just watching it.
There's a side of this that says if there's so much frustration, so much anger, does it all get released in this circumstance and the kids go home and get to be quote-unquote normal again?
Well, I think they're normal to begin with. You know,
but I mean, if you have that level of anger, don't you have to constantly release it?
No, I think it's almost every Saturday or Sunday there's a show. And when you're doing that for, you know, 2 or 3 hours, because it's not just one band, I think you get out. I mean, you can't, you know, you're so tired you can't even walk when you go home, so that's a release. And I think you're normal to begin with, and this just keeps you normal, you know, keeps you going.
When you look at the kinds of kids, you see suburbia, you see there are a lot of kids who are doing drugs, a lot of kids who are doing alcohol, a lot of kids who have problems.
You betcha.
Then, if you see all of that, what is your, I mean, the kids are more sophisticated today. Just those simple outlets that you and I had as kids just don't work for them.
Well, we grew up in the 50s and 60s. I was a teenager in the late 50s and early 60s. It was a lot easier being a teenager at that time than it is now. Pressure on kids today is enormous compared in terms of achievement in school, social pressure, peer pressure. So it's much greater now, so I can understand why kids feel as frustrated as they are and under a lot of anxiety. But I don't think that this is the healthiest outlet. I think it is an outlet, but it has to be controlled, and I don't see too much control going on there.
I think he's right about the pressures of kids today. I mean, you're forced to grow up pretty fast, you know, and especially now in the 90s. I mean, I go to school full-time, work full-time, you know, have the band, have a lot of stuff that I'm doing. And you need something to release it. I mean, I refuse to, like, harm my body, you know, as a release. You know what I mean? Besides, like, physically. I mean, physically in the sense of, like, getting hit or something, not, like, internally.
Well, I think we're going to, yeah.
I'd rather, like, get a couple, you know, bumps and bruises and lose a few brain cells, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I want to thank you both very much for joining us this morning. It's slam dancing or thrashing, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about it.
Hope you did.
Jim?
Well, thank you for a sensible discussion on a nonsensical subject. Thank you very much. Coming up, the story of two young women's fight back from